July 5th, 2017, a man is sitting in front of his laptop at his villa in Bangkok. He is known only by the pseudonym Alpha02. He is a multimillionaire. He lives a luxurious lifestyle and drives expensive cars. He feels safe in Thailand. But suddenly he hears a loud crash in front of his house. A woman has crashed her Toyota Camry into his gate. He drops everything and runs outside to the scene of the accident. A mistake that would cost him dearly, because the driver is an agent of the Thai Royal Police. FBI and DEA investigators had been waiting for this moment for months. Authorities from 7 countries had been working tirelessly toward this day. And finally, the hunt for the king of the dark web was over. It is the beginning of the 2000s. The dark web is gaining momentum. Promises of anonymity and privacy attract more and more people. Thanks to Bitcoin, a new form of payment appeared that was not controlled by governments. It became much easier for criminals to sell their products online on a massive scale. With the emergence of the dark web, a gigantic global game began between intelligence agencies and criminals. And that game continues to this day. Silk Road was probably the most legendary marketplace on the dark web. The platform launched in February 2011 and became incredibly popular. More than 100,000 customers bought illegal substances there. But just 2.5 years later, the site's operator was caught. Authorities wanted to set an example in the fight against illegal drugs. The founder of Silk Road received a life sentence, but the business was simply too profitable and nobody was scared away. Silk Road 2.0 was launched just 35 days after its predecessor was shut down. The site lasted less than a year. Another popular marketplace, comparable in size to 2 Silk Roads, was Evolution. To buy products on Evolution, you had to transfer Bitcoin to the platform's account, essentially using an escrow system on the dark web. Once the purchased goods arrived at the buyers, the sellers received their payment. Because of this system, the platform operators constantly held incredible amounts of money. At some point, the operators of Evolution decided to steal that money. Agora was also called a worthy successor to the original Silk Road, but its founders voluntarily took the site offline. Exit scams, arrests, hacks, and voluntary shutdowns. All of this benefited a new dark web marketplace called Alphabay. In July 2014, a man calling himself Alpha02 began developing Alphabay. Just 5 months later, his platform went live. At first, the platform only offered and sold stolen credit card data, but Alphabay quickly began offering much more profitable products. In addition to data and login credentials, the marketplace now sold illegal drugs, weapons, and even money laundering services. There was also a list of things that were prohibited from being sold. This included anything related to children, information about escapes, and stolen bank account information from Russia. The site worked similarly to Amazon. It was relatively easy to use. There were search functions, filters, and categories. Users could pay with Bitcoin, Monero, or Ethereum. These cryptocurrencies were believed to provide anonymity. Alphabay even offered what was known as a crypto mixer, which blurred payments by combining multiple transactions from different people. The platform worked well and dominated the dark web. Alphabay was incredibly stable. The site had more than 200,000 registered users and 40,000 sellers. In 2017, more than 300,000 products were listed on Alphabay, and daily sales exceeded $500,000. Alpha02 made money from every transaction, taking a 2 to 4% cut, and he very quickly became a multimillionaire. By this point, Alphabay had an entire team working behind it. Alpha02 had a representative named Desnik, several moderators who resolved disputes between buyers and sellers, and a PR manager who helped the site achieve explosive growth. The founder decided to step away from the day-to-day operations. He changed his name from Alpha02 and simply became an admin. From then on, all communication was handled only through Desnik. While Alpha02 was stepping away from the business, American investigators were becoming increasingly interested in his true identity. Who was actually behind the platform controlling the dark web? The hunt began. It would span the entire globe and last for several years. American investigators tried to determine where Alphabay's servers were located. With access to the servers, they could shut down the platform, secretly infiltrate it, and potentially determine the location of its operators. Finding the location of the servers, operators, and sellers was deliberately made extremely difficult. Because of this, American investigators had to take another approach. They began browsing the platform and anonymously purchasing illegal substances, hoping that a seller would make a mistake. Perhaps the product, packaging, or postage stamps could provide a clue to the seller's identity. Then he could be arrested. But those were only small fish who appeared and disappeared. The investigators wanted Alpha 02. However, the owner of Alphabay seemed to have taken every possible precaution. It appeared that he knew all the rules of the game, and the investigators were becoming desperate. Until December 2016, Robert Miller sat at his desk in Fresno, California. He worked for the DEA, the American agency responsible for fighting illegal drugs. He was investigating and studying Alphabay. Until that day, it had been a rather thankless job. But suddenly an email appeared in his inbox. The sender was unknown. It appeared that at the very beginning of Alphabay's operation, Alpha 02 had made a fatal mistake. Every user who registered on the site received a welcome email. In the metadata of that email, the true sender's email address was visible. Although the mistake was immediately corrected, an anonymous source had saved one of the very first welcome emails. The email address was pimplex91hotmail.com. That email became a breakthrough for Miller and his colleagues. Investigators found photographs of Alex from 2008 and 2009 on Skyrock.com. It was a French-language social media platform. On Skyrock, they found a link to an old dating profile. The profile listed his hometown as Trois-Rivières, located in southern Quebec. According to the profile, he was 17 years old at the time, so the number 91 in his email address could have been his year of birth. When Alphabay was founded, he was only 23 years old. The username Alpha 02 also appeared on a French-language forum. In 2008, he explained how to remove a virus from an image. At the bottom of the post was his email address, as well as his full name, Alexander Cazes. The investigators had his name. But where was he? They found his PayPal account. There, he had also provided his personal email address. Through his LinkedIn profile, they discovered that he worked as a freelance software designer. He also appeared to run his own company called EBX Technologies. On Facebook, investigators found the profile of his fiancée, and she appeared to be from Thailand. It seemed that the Canadian was living there. The clues led investigators to the country's capital. Bangkok. With the help of Thai authorities, the investigation team identified 3 properties belonging to Cazes. One house was located inside a gated community. Alpha 02 lived there with his wife. The second property was a $3 million mansion on the outskirts of Bangkok. He also had a vacation home in Phuket. And he was in the process of buying another villa in Cyprus. Investigators began watching him. The lifestyle of a multimillionaire included several cars. Cazes enjoyed driving his Lamborghini around Bangkok. Agents kept an eye on him and tracked his movements. They also tracked his iPhone. While Cazes lived in a beautiful house with his wife, he invited his numerous mistresses to one of his other houses in Bangkok. Investigators called the place a bachelor pad. Cazes was quite an interesting guy. He constantly spent time on pickup artist forums. There, men gave advice on how to succeed with women. Under the nickname Romeo, Cazes posted conservative family values and blogged about his successful sex life. Apart from that, his daily life was fairly ordinary, but it was certainly unusual for the king of the dark web. He woke up early, checked his social media accounts, worked from home for hours, occasionally attended language classes, or went out to eat with his wife. Meanwhile, the authorities were planning his arrest in as much detail as possible. In June 2017, several weeks before the operation, a group of American agents were sitting in the lobby of the 5-star Athene Hotel in Bangkok. Suddenly, Cazes appeared. He parked his Porsche Panamera at the entrance and casually walked through the lobby straight toward the agents. Bangkok has 1,000 hotels. Had the agents been discovered? Had the king of the dark web outsmarted them? Alexander Cazes sat down at a table just a few meters away from the agents. They had never been this close to him. But nothing unusual happened. He was simply meeting someone else for a business dinner. It was an incredible coincidence. But nobody there suspected that just 1 month later, Cazes would be dead. At that moment, Alphabay was the largest dark web marketplace in the world. But in Europe, there was competition. The Hansa market was growing rapidly and causing headaches for European authorities. Dutch investigators located Hansa's servers thanks to a tip from a security researcher. They were located in a data center in the Netherlands. A unique opportunity appeared. They monitored the servers, copied data, and dug through countless chat records between the site's operators. They discovered that the operators were German and probably still living in Germany. Together with the German Federal Criminal Police Office, the Dutch investigators wanted to take control of the Hansa market. But suddenly, Hansa disappeared from the Dutch servers. The administrators had probably discovered that their servers had been copied. In the operators' chats, authorities also found several Bitcoin addresses. They began tracking transactions from those Bitcoin wallets until the funds ended up on a Dutch exchange. They contacted the exchange and requested the relevant data. The Bitcoin trail led to Lithuania. Together with the authorities in that country, the Germans and Dutch tried to locate new servers. This time, the authorities wanted to strike, but something unexpected happened. The FBI informed European authorities about their plans to arrest Alpha02 and shut down Alphabay. Operation Bayonet was beginning to gain momentum. It was carried out under the leadership of the FBI and DEA and involved law enforcement agencies from 7 countries. Europol was also involved in the operation. The FBI was instructed to wait before taking down Alphabay until the Dutch, working together with the Germans, had taken control of the Hansa market. If Alphabay was destroyed first, new buyers and sellers would flood into Hansa. With this data, the Dutch authorities would be able to prosecute thousands of unsuspecting criminals. Alexander Kazis knew nothing about it. He continued driving his Lamborghini around Bangkok, posting nonsense on his favorite forum, and cheating on his wife. June 20th, 2017. The first part of the mission was successful. A data center in Lithuania was raided by Dutch special forces. At the same time, German authorities arrested 2 operators in Siegen and Cologne. The operators had no way to warn anyone about their arrests. The Hansa market was now under Dutch control, and nobody on the dark web even suspected it. July 5th, 2017. Bangkok. The time had come. There was a warrant for the arrest of Alexander Kazis. That day, the Thai Royal Police, the DEA, and the FBI would arrest him. Alpha02 could finally be put behind bars after more than 2 years. A gray Toyota Camry drove down the dead-end road toward Kaz's house. A Thai Royal Police agent was behind the wheel. She wanted to turn around, but accidentally got into a minor accident. The noise and chaos were supposed to lure Kaz's out of his house. He had to come outside spontaneously, without thinking. This part was incredibly important. Ideally, his devices needed to remain unlocked when he was arrested. If his hard drives were locked and encrypted, authorities would have a much harder time accessing Alphabay. Kazis came out of the house and approached the Toyota. Suddenly, several officers tried to grab him. He tried to run back into the house, possibly to shut down his computer, but the officers caught him. Investigators rushed into his house and searched for the laptop. They found it in the bedroom. It was turned on, and nothing was locked. The operation had worked. Alpha02 was still logged into the server hosting Alphabay. Investigators searched the laptop and found several passwords for the site's servers and platform. The Canadian's fortune was estimated at $23 million. Authorities seized his luxury cars, his house, a hotel, and $1 million in cryptocurrency. The Canadian's wife was also charged. The Thai woman was accused of money laundering. 1 week later, on July 12th, Alexander Kazis was found dead while in custody. The king of the dark web was gone. The shutdown of Alphabay was deliberately kept secret by the authorities. When the platform suddenly went offline, nobody knew why. An exit scam? A hack? Or had the operators simply disappeared? Nobody knew. As expected, countless users moved to other dark web platforms, including the Hansa market. For 4 weeks, Dutch authorities monitored thousands of criminals trading on the platform. And then, on July 20th, 2017, the Hansa market was shut down as well. On the same day, the United States Department of Justice announced the takedown of Alphabay and Hansa. It was a huge success for authorities around the world. The dark web itself is not an evil technology designed only for criminals. We need places on the internet where whistleblowers and journalists can remain relatively safe. However, platforms like Alphabay are still part of the picture. Globally, the game is far from over. The demand for illegal drugs, weapons, counterfeit money, and malware is simply too high. Alphabay and Hansa were not forgotten immediately. Several new dark web markets appeared, claiming to be better than the previous leaders of the underground internet. Hydra, for example, at times became more than twice the size of Alphabay. In 2021, it was also shut down by German and American authorities. So now, a new competition for the title of King of the Dark Web is underway. One promising contender is Desnake. He relaunched Alphabay in 2021, and to this day, he continues to operate the marketplace.